Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
Welcome. Thanks so much for being with us. Happy Monday. Thanks for starting the beginning of your week with us here at the intersection of conservative ideas and reality. I want to welcome back to the program, friend of the program. We've got Mr. Jamie Barker is on the line. And Jamie, I want to say congratulations to you, sir. You have this weekend been elected the chairman of the Arkansas Federation of Young Republicans. Congratulations, sir.
Hey, Paul. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. And actually, the last time I was on here, I think was the first time you kicked off the Conservative Future program. So it's good to be back. I listened to a few of those, a few friends on there, and it's been a great segment of the show.
Yeah, well, absolutely. That was the first time you came on, and I believe yet you were the first one. And so I things are going great for you. So tell us a little bit about the Federation of Young Republicans here in Arkansas.
Yeah, so the Federation of Young Republicans, I'm the chairman for the statewide chapter. We're a member of the National Federation of Young Republicans. It functions a whole lot like the RNC does. You've got the national chapter, you've got your state chapter, and then we've regionally got chapters as well. So we've got chapters in Washington and Benton County. We've got chapters in Northeast Arkansas, North Central Arkansas, Lonoke County, and we're working to get a couple down south in Garland County, that kind of area, and then over toward Warren and Monticello as well.
That's great. That's terrific. So tell me what the process is when you, in terms of, were you running against somebody to get this nod? I mean, what's the process? Do people vote, and how did that all shake out?
Yeah, so it's elected kind of by convention, much like the regular state party functions. So if you're a member of the Young Republicans, which is 18 years old up to 40 years old, you join, you pay your yearly dues, and you can show up and register to come to the convention. And then those who are members and come to the convention and register to do so and show up are allowed to vote and select who their officers will be for the next 2-year term.
Okay. And so were there other people who were vying for the chairman? I mean, obviously you had to say, hey, I'm running for this, right? Is that correct? And were there other people that you
Sure.
had to beat out, or that you got more votes than they did?
Yeah, there was one other guy running against me. There were some other contested races down the ballot as well. But I think competition's good, and at the end of the day, we're all going to move forward together, and I look forward to working with all of them to build a better Young Republicans and Republican Party.
So the guy that was running against you, his name was Will Hansen. Is that correct? Do I have my information right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Were there any issues that kind of defined that campaign? And the reason I ask that is because I heard I have a source that just said, hey, there was some debate because, the Young Republicans are trying to get younger people into the party. And so I heard that there was maybe some debate or some push to change in the platform the current definition of marriage. Is there any truth to that?
There was a push 2 years ago, and they ended up tabling that motion 2 years ago until this convention. That wasn't the reason I ran for chairman. I ran for chairman of the Young Republicans because I think that the organization, the intent is to further the Republican cause, to win campaigns, to help expand, our membership by engaging young people through those campaigns and through our activities. So, that didn't define the race. Actually, I believe it was my opponent who seconded the motion to strike that proposition from last convention, and I would have supported the same action. So I wouldn't say that defined the race. No, not at all.
Okay.
It wasn't even brought up on the floor.
All right. I'm just trying to make sure, because I certainly, this is not in other states and other places, there's some people that try to that do want to modify the platform in certain ways, and the idea is, hey, we'll get more people, we'll be able to appeal to a broader base and that sort of thing. So I was just curious if that was happening here, and I'm glad it's been tabled. We're talking with Jamie Barker, and a big congratulations to him. He's now the chairman of the Arkansas Federation of Young Republicans. He mentioned that he was on the program for the Conservative Future segment that we do. So Jamie, I'm curious, what are you doing now other than the chairman of the Arkansas Federation of Young Republicans?
Yeah, so when we talked last time, I was actually in a parking lot in Indiana working for Governor Huckabee's presidential campaign.
That's right.
Toward the end of that, when that was over, I actually became the political director for the Republican Party of Arkansas, and I worked there until I received a job offer from the governor to go work for him during the legislative session. And then since then, I've moved out, and I'm working for his campaign on his political staff.
Okay. All right. So you're on his political staff, I guess, for his reelection then.
Yeah, that's
okay.
correct.
All right. Well, obviously, I definitely know. I mean, things have been going good. Let me ask you this about the primary situation when it came to working for Governor Huckabee. First of all, pretty incredible that Sarah Huckabee Sanders is where she is now in the Trump administration. But was that not the craziest presidential election? I think there'll never be one in my lifetime like that. But, the way it all shook out, it just was totally unpredictable from my point of view. I got used to the fact that I'm terrible at predicting this stuff nationally.
Sure. Yeah, so I've actually got a good story on that. We were in Iowa the night before the Iowa caucuses, and I'm sitting in a room with Sarah Huckabee Sanders and her husband Brian, both phenomenal people. And there's about 6 other people working on the campaign. It's midnight, we're all standing up talking about, kind of what we expect to happen the next day. And someone says, hey, if Governor Huckabee, if our guy doesn't come out on top tomorrow and we're out of this thing before the end of the primary season, who's y'all's next choice? And so I think we could kind of all see that it wasn't going to go the way we were hoping, although we were optimistic. And Sarah and Brian immediately said, we're with Donald Trump. And so we all kind of chuckled, and we went around the circle, and everybody gave a different answer. There were basic people. I supported Rubio after Huckabee dropped out. There were some Carson people, and so it's just really interesting to see, 7 people united working for the same person have 7 different views almost about who to support next. And so, yeah, it was absolutely nuts.
Wow. Yeah. So, it was kind of just a microcosm. I think that's a reflection of a lot of people who were supporting candidates during that time. What do you think is going on so far? How do you think Donald Trump's doing so far?
So somebody asked me that the other day, and my answer is always the same. So I told people before the election that no matter what happens, if at the end of 4 years I was alive and we had a conservative on the Supreme Court, that I would be very pleased with my vote. And so so far I'm still alive, and so far we've got Justice Gorsuch who's doing a good job, and I think it's going great. I think the jobs numbers alone kind of justify everything he said during the campaign. He's obviously had some issues navigating some of the, political waters of Congress, but I think any of us would have those issues when, dealing with people so entrenched in the bureaucracy.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with what you said there. Since I do focus on state issues on the program a lot, I've certainly been really excited about the Supreme Court prospect, maybe the idea of getting another person on there as well. But as far as, draining the swamp is extremely hard. You can just look at the folks who are in, what's now being called the deep state and everything else. It's really an uphill battle. They don't want to lose power, give it back to the states. And so, it's a lot easier, I say that, knock on wood, to change the minds and hearts of 3 million Arkansans than maybe it is to, change 300 million Americans' minds and that sort of thing.
I think there is a silver lining to it all. You've got Secretary Zinke at the Interior, who I think is doing a very good job there. It's kind of a nondescript part of the government. We don't hear a lot about it, but what is coming out of there seems to be very positive, very conservative, shrinking government. And the same thing with Scott Pruitt at the EPA. He seems to be doing a very good job. Everyone seems to have very high esteem for the job he's doing. And there was a lot of protests. He's actually the most protested member of the United States government, past the president, vice president. But I think he's doing a good job there. And so I think, as we go along, hopefully for, potentially 8 years, we will see more positives like that as we continue down the road.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question, because I want to back up a little bit. You're working for Governor Asa Hutchinson's reelection campaign. Obviously, I know you've listened to the program before. I am not his biggest fan or supporter right now, based on the agenda and the policies that I want to see get accomplished. Things are not moving as fast as I want them to, and in some cases, Jamie, I feel like we're going in the opposite direction with tax increases and things like that. and I know this was not an interview to talk about your work on the campaign, but what are your thoughts? Let me just ask you this about the Democrats putting up a candidate. You also have, Libertarian Mark West, who's, going to make a run at it. Just what are your whole thoughts on this working for the re-election campaign of the governor?
Sure. So I will say I'm a huge fan of our governor. I think he's done a very good job. I mean, obviously, you're free to disagree, and I'm sure we're disagreeing in segments. You're going to agree with some of the stuff he does, and as am I, and you're going to disagree in spots. But overall, I think he's done a very good job. He's definitely been better than the alternative we could have had for sure. But beyond just that justification, I think he's actually doing, above and beyond what people could have expected. His approval numbers are extremely high, and I think that's reflected in the fact that the Democrats are still yet to even field a candidate. Obviously, they're going to have to put somebody up to maintain their party status.
Right.
But, I think that this, for the same reasons that the state continues to move more red and more red, the governor who's governing with a good conservative agenda. Now, again, obviously everyone's not going to agree with the level of conservatism to it, and that's fine and that's fair. But I think, when the options are on the table, the governor's going to be head and shoulders above any options that anyone else can put up.
Well, he's certainly got a lot of money in the campaign coffers, I mean, as far as, I'm saying just objectively, his reelection chances look really good. I mean, really solid, and because there just doesn't seem to be, I don't look for a primary challenge to come within the Republican Party. I think a lot of people just ruled that out. The Democrats, like you say, they're going to have to put up somebody. And maybe there's a lot of Democrats that just don't really, they don't want to do it. They don't want to run and just be a place. Yeah, just be a placeholder. That's what they've got to ask somebody to do is, hey, come be a placeholder so we can maintain our ballot access. And we don't have to, do like what libertarians do. And get a petition together every year.
Right. Well, and I think that, we're very optimistic. Obviously, you just pointed out we've got well over $1 million in the bank, and we're continuing to aggressively fundraise, continuing to go to events, and continue to hear the extremely positive feedback from Republicans, Democrats, Independents, you name it, of any demographic when we go to those things. And so we're obviously optimistic, but at the same time, not going to take it for granted. And, we're pushing hard to make sure that no matter who anyone fields, we're still going to come out on top come November 2018.
So, okay, pivoting back to your role as the chairman of the Arkansas Federation of Young Republicans, what is it that you hope to see with the Young Republicans moving forward as the new chairman? Like, what do you have, like a vision that's, that's new?
I don't know that it's new. I would hope that I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. Obviously, Arkansas continues to trend more red, and if it's not broke, you don't got to fix it. But the whole time I was running, anytime I was talking to somebody, I tried to make it about campaign experience, and how that works for the Young Republicans as an organization. And so I would like to see more young people obviously become involved in the organization by expanding the number of chapters we have, by expanding the size of those chapters. I will say we had over, I think, 120 people at our convention on last Saturday, and the national chairman was actually there, and he said that this is one of the largest conventions he'd ever seen at a state level. And so that was really promising. And so to see those people get involved and use our organization as a part of the Republican machine to win more elections in 2018. Well, guess what? When you win elections and you become involved and you're a useful force, those people are then going to help you. They're going to help us fundraise. They're going to help us recruit new candidates. They're going to help us grow our membership. And it all works in kind of a cycle. And so I think, synergizing with the Republican Party of Arkansas, the Republican women, the county committees, and so on and so forth, the members of the legislature that, supported me running for this position because this was kind of what I wanted to do with it. I think that we'll be successful going forward and continue to see it grow. Yeah,
growing is certainly good with any organization. And Jamie, I just want to say congratulations again to you, Jamie Barker, and I appreciate you coming on the program, and I appreciate you letting me ask you the questions. So.
Absolutely. Let's do it again sometime.
All righty. I'd like to, Jamie. Appreciate it, sir. Folks, we are going to take a break, and we'll be back in just a moment. The telephone number, 870-275-9799. Back in just a moment.